to meet. Um, I see a numbers of people joining us. So we will wait for a little bit for maybe 10 minutes so everybody can join us again. So if you like to take a break now, please do so and we will start around 2 p.m. Okay? Uh, thank you.
มันสี่นะหนึ่งสองสี่ห้าหกเจ็ดแปดเก้าสิบเอ็ดสองที่นี่มันสี่
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Group 2. Today we're going to talk about fermentation and culture meat. Can you hear me? ได้ยินไหม? Oh, okay. 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 Sorry about that. Um, so before we open for discussion, my name is Honglada Theutkittikul. I am an innovation manager from Technology Management Center, NASDA. So I'm pretty much working on building the ecosystem for alternative protein consortium in Thailand. It's an honor to be here, and thank you so much for joining us today and share your ideas and probably input. And how can we create sustainable ecosystem relevant to alternative proteins for Asia Pacific countries? Okay. So, as Dr. Wanop and other speakers this morning has mentioned, um, what can we do to again build a sustainable ecosystem and to promote alternative protein industry in Thailand and also in other countries together? What can we do? And this session will focus on. Can you okay? Should I continue? You guys can see my presentation, yeah? I guess so. Okay. Okay. So anyway, should I next slide เลยก็ได้ค่ะ Next slide, please. Can no? Okay. Sorry, you guys. The um if you guys have any comments or anything to add, you can actually raise your hand or type your questions or input in the chat box. Okay. Right now we're trying to reopen the PowerPoint presentation, so please bear with us a little bit. Okay. Beck is sharing now. Thank you. It's still loading though. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, the objective of this workshop is to develop regional sustainable alternative protein value chain designs. You have to think about the from the upstreams, midstream, downstream, and also the consumption and distributions. And also the second objective is to foster the development of regional collaboration platform program on sustainable alternative protein. So the main point of this workshop is actually to design and to think about what can we do together as a country, as a regional, and also as the whole world, what to do in order to develop the product that's available for the market. Okay, so and the meeting report that come out from this workshop will be summarized and submitted into APEC policy partnership on science, technology, and innovation. So I would greatly appreciate your input. I know that we have different variety of participants in this room. Um, we will be talking about the fermentation and culture meat. I'm not sure that you guys are at this at different levels of this technology and this product. So I would love to hear all of you guys um, could share what's your thought and what can we do together. Okay. So next slide, please. Yes, it's coming. Yeah. Okay. So the topic again, as I emphasize all the time, that how we can co-create sustainable alternative protein for Asia Pacific countries. So this is not only Thailand, not only Southeast Asia, but also the very big part of the world is the Asia Pacific countries. So we how can we collaborate together? Okay. So the first questions that I would like to ask you guys is how might we create this ecosystem together? What kind of knowledge you guys have? What kind of knowledge related to fermentation and culture meat? I'm pretty sure that you guys pretty familiar with the fermentation because we have used these fermentation techniques for many decades and decades ago. Like for example, it's a traditional fermentation. Um, we use soybeans and convert into tempeh. Yes, so that's pretty much the old traditional way that we use. And then the second fermentation techniques is the biomass fermentations. So we leverage the fast-growing the microorganisms and using their high protein with the large quantities of protein that they can produce and make the product. Did I hear someone say? Okay, and then the third one is the precision fermentation. So this is kind of the new technology that enable the whole process of fermented food and for the whole process of making the alternative protein food. So if anyone like to share their thought and maybe what do you have in your hand and you can share us, I would appreciate. So anybody want to share at all? Please raise your hand, or if you have any questions, you can type in the chat box too. Okay. Anyone? Anyone? Okay. Maybe, okay, I can give you a little bit about the whole supply chains of the fermentation techniques that use in the making alternative protein products. So you have to look into the upstreams. You have to look into microbial strains. You have to look into the biomass feedstock that can match perfectly with your new strains, or you have to look into the midstream of the whole chains. It's the bioprocessing, what the country needs. Should we have the sustainable infrastructure? Should the government or the private sector work together, put the investment, and for the downstream, downstreams. So how can we make the market? How can we make food that tastes better, the texture, using micro that have the filamentous fungi and mycelium can apply into your product? How can you how can you yeah, and then the down and then the downstream production, so the market, how can we promote those product into the market, like the regulatory affairs, the standardizations. So anybody would like to share at all, please? Okay, all right. So um yes, Mr. Somchai, yes.
Yes, just try to help Dr. Hongada for
Thank
for
you.
discussion. Okay. So I'm from Mahidol University. Actually, I'm in another room as well. So I will go in and out time to time. But I think for Thai bioindustry, we we may think that we are familiar with the fermentation, but actually I think we are quite narrow for the facility for doing the cultivation. I think what we can do is only the glutamic acid fermentation, MSG, monosodium glutamic acid, and also ethanol fermentation, and as well some citric acid fermentation. Citric for production of the citric acid. We can use some Aspergillus niger or something like that for the fermentation. But what we know from that one. But I think from now on we need to build up the facility, and also we have a lot of raw material, but we need to prepare the I think good facility for production of the large scale single cell protein for in the future if we really want to go. So I am no doubt that fermentation is the direct competition for the culture meat. I mean the mammalian cell culture. If it can produce the good taste and texture, then I think it can overcome the the culture meat easily. Okay, that is my point. But as well, we need to think about the recombinant protein as well. If someone want to make it better taste and texture, so some people talking about the fibronectin, some people talking about some tissue component that we can produce in the using the fermentation in I mean recombinant bacteria or yeast. So in that case, we may need to think to talk with our Thai FDA for the regulatory guideline. That is very important that we need to conduct, and I think NASDAQ can be a call center for facilitating the talk with the Thai FDA, I think. Okay, this is very my brief opinion and comment about the fermentation based
Thank you
meat.
so much, Ajahn Somchai. So you were saying that we should take advantage of our country biodiversities. However,
Yeah.
we should maybe put some input in the R&D level also, yes. And
I think we have a lot of people who can do the fermentation in Thailand. I am no doubt. What we lack is only the facility. But I heard that EEC plan to have the pilot plant in Rayong, right?
yes.
In that case, we might use that plan for kick off the fermentation based culture. I mean the protein for by the fermentation at that plant. I think 2 or 3 years from now, we have some pilot plan of the fermentation for, if my memory is correct, it's about 50,000 or 80,000 liter tank. So we might use that one as a pilot scale trial. NASDA I think doing the management for that plan, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, but we also encourage the private sector
Yeah.
to come in and use those facilities, because those are the national infrastructure that we're trying to build and to support everyone in Thailand, and also for the foreigners too. Okay.
In terms of the productivity, I think I have no doubt that bacteria or yeast cultivation is faster than the mammalian cell. And also the yield and everything. You can gain a lot of protein from the bacterial fermentation.
Okay. All right. And also about the regulations.
Yep.
Okay. Thank
We may
you.
take longer time for regulation talk.
Well, but fermentation, using fermentation techniques, it's it's pretty much we already familiar with all those techniques, so maybe it's faster in term to get off the approval from the FDA. But yeah, but we definitely have to collaborate, and also being like providing, like facilitate the use of talking between NASDA or private sector or different institutes with the FDA. So, okay.
Before
right.
joining this session, I just have a quick look to the publication that regarding to the fermentation-based protein, and I have some interesting review of that one, that also focusing on all the current up-to-date know-how and also the patent that been registered. I will post the link in the chat box, so if anyone interested can have a look later on. Okay.
Thank you so much. I greatly
welcome.
appreciate. So, anybody would like to add or have a different aspect? We are very open for your opinion, please. And this, because your opinion will be very important, because we're gonna put your opinion into the report, and then give it to very decision makers and high level of the country. So we have to do it now. We have to help together. Okay, think about what can we do to make Thailand or the Asia Pacific countries to work together, to synergize this power together. Okay. Or maybe like anybody would like to add? No. Okay. For Dr. Sinut has said, for the downstream to the market, maybe we need to know the FDA regulations. Is there any restrictions or barriers that we have right now? So pretty much about maybe the information that probably the private sector or anybody need to be aware in order to do that. Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody else would like to add? If you can see my screen, that the other two groups are putting their thought in the sticky note up there. So we have to beat them, okay?
Hi, hello.
So please.
Hi,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, please. Could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, hello everyone. I am Valerie. I am from Good Food Institute, Asia Pacific. So Good Food Institute is basically a international nonprofit that is supporting the alternative protein industry, and it's international. So I'm from the Asia Pacific office. We are based in Singapore, but we are also covering the whole of the Asia region, including Thailand. So I think I can share a bit on. I mean, for one thing, so fermentation is a growing sector, and we think that for alternative protein, right? This is in Asia so far. It is more focused on plant-based, and there's also some cultivated. And I think the new wave is fermentation. So I think in the future there will hopefully be more fermentation companies in Asia. Could be precision fermentation or biomass fermentation, right? And I think one thing I have heard before from startups is about if uh for regulation, right? There needs to be a like novel foods framework to make regulation more friendly. So, example, we have heard from one fermentation company in Thailand that talk about how it was difficult to figure out how to get the regulation, get the product approved. So then they have to consider launching in other countries instead first. Yeah, so if Thailand can come up with a novel foods framework, more friendly regulation, then countries in Thailand don't have to go overseas. They can launch in Thailand first. And also, overseas companies can launch in Thailand in the future. So now, I mean, we're in Singapore. So Singapore has a very good regulation. They already allow for cultivated meat and fermentation. I think also fermentation. So lots of companies are looking to move to Singapore because this is one of the first few countries. So I think Thailand can also take the lead to, be like the second country to approve it or something. Um, yeah, that. And then also in terms of fermentation, it could be, many different kinds of crops. We think that, like, for example, mung bean is a crop that is interesting to consider. So diversification of crops, like, can we look more, not just like soy and wheat, but also maybe could be mung bean, chickpea, lupin, peas, all these different kinds. And if we can ferment it, it would actually help to increase the nutrition of this, like maybe increase the protein content or increase the number of like even like probiotics or health benefits through fermentation. So this is something that we also think is quite interesting, of fermentation as a way to improve the health and nutrition product content of uh, alternative protein or food products. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, GFI APAC has a lot of resources to support startups in the space. So, you can just check out GFI Good Food Institute Asia Pacific website to reach out to us to see how we can support. We also have reports on fermentation to have a better understanding of this sector. Yeah, so happy to support other companies in the space. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to hear from you because like I'm always reading going to the GFI website and find a lot of very, very good information related to the alternative protein. So I really happy, very excited to talk to you. Anyways, so I got your points that we definitely have to work on our regulations in order to promote the use and development of the novel food and also different kind of biomass that's available in Thailand. So we don't have to use um, um, same old traditional that we have used for the past 10 years. But anyway, so those material might be talking in group three, like mushroom or saku worm and insects. And also, yes, we trying to build a ecosystem for the startups ourselves too, because um, we definitely have to help them in terms of the maybe the consultations and then investment, and hopefully we can be the second one after Singapore in terms of um, adopting new regulations relevant to the alternative protein. So thank you so much on your thought. So anybody else wanna share maybe in your institute what kind of um, biomass that you use or what kind of infrastructure you might need in order to support your line of products? So anybody? 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 Anybody else? Otherwise, I move to the first part of the question is how might we? So we talk about that biomass itself, the regulations, and how we build knowledge and R&D infrastructure, maybe investment. Anybody to put any thought on investment and developing regional and global innovation ecosystem, and also okay, I'm gonna move to the second one then. I guess we get all the points we need for the first question. How might we? So the second question that I would like to have your input in is about what works and what not. So as from the opinions and input from the first question, so how can we how can we bring everybody together? Like what are we doing right now? Actually, we're trying to build very sustainable and strong ecosystem, but I can't hear all your opinions, so we can't work alone. So anybody in this room would like to share how can we set up alliance or work together? Please share. Like how can we get all the stakeholders? Please, Acharan Somchai, thank you so much.
I think you may need to define that what mean works or not work. What the definition of works?
What the definition of works? What works and what not work?
It's commercialization or whatever, or I think maybe the price competitive, right? One of the criteria is a price competitive. Another one is taste and for the acceptance for the people that is close to what they have eat, right? So you may need to think about that one. And another one is functional ad that you may think about that. Okay, so I think these three criteria, if we have it, we can make it with the competitive price and very productivity, then you can compete to each other. And plant-based protein already proved it that it can sell on the market now, and some people already try to use plant protein, right? And new source, I think we have some alternative as well. But for the fermentation, it was long time ago that people talking about the single cell protein, right? We worry about the one day we may have no food to eat, so we need to prepare the fermentation based protein. But the taste may be not good. But I believe that Thai food company are very good to make a food formulation for that one. So I think fermentation base is another option that we may think. But for some people, they think that it will maybe a little bit easy compared with the mammalian cell culture or something like that one. So maybe they already do it, but I'm not quite sure how hard, how much they focus on that on the fermentation based meat. Okay, only brief idea about that one.
Yeah, ได้ค่ะ so we would like because we're trying to look for the whole supply chains and what is working right now and what's not working right now. That's what we're trying to do. Maybe PM want to add something in for the discussion?
I was defines about work and what's not what's work and what not. What work is the situation is linked to strong commitment or something like that. It relates to the first question, what might be to bring the uh, it's related to the one question. I would like to know how to do is link to strong commitment, something like that. It means what will
So pretty much how to make a strong commitment.
yeah,
Okay. Great discussion. So how can we bring together the different stakeholders across the value chains, like farmers, consumers, to support development of the alternative protein and have a stronger commitment at the global and regional levels. So anybody? I don't. Anybody? Or if you don't wanna, if you wanna go back to question one, I would be more than happy to listen to your thought. So please, anybody? Or I wanna pick a name. Please help ไม่ต้องยุได้ไหมอะ
อาจารย์หงอดาครับ
ค่ะ
So I think shall we look for all of the question that we want to go through? Then I
ได้
think we can do something that is most easy for us to do first or something like that.
ค่ะที่there are pretty much like 3 questions, like very like very broad questions, like
Okay.
what might we do to co-create this ecosystem. So just think about the whole value chains.
Okay.
Okay, so upstream, midstream, downstream, consumer, market, the whole chain. So what we might do to bring all those stakeholders together, or to bring or for example, if for the upstream part, you can just how to bring the farmers or the company that use different kinds of biomass together to do the R&D, or bring it together. And then for the midstream, for the bioprocessing technologies, fermentation technology, how to build infrastructures, the investment on those, and then the workforce. We have to build our workforce in order to support the whole chains, because nowadays people don't want to work in the farm anymore because they think it's too much work. And then for the downstreams, so how can we bring those together to help, and regulations and all that stuff. So, and then the second one that we want to know is what works and what not. So you guys can clarify more about just to emphasize more about the what is going on right now in our situation, and what can we do in the future to help to have a stronger ecosystem. And then the third question is what most important. So from the workshop today, what suggestion do you have in order to grow a sustainable community or alternative proteins at different levels? So those are 3 questions that we like to know from this workshop. So it's very, very, very open-minded. So you guys can share any thought that you have, maybe your challenge the pain point that you have in your company, and so on. So we can use those information and develop into policies in order to help you guys better. So I saw a hand, right? Earlier, คุณชัยรัชยา ใช่ไหมคะ ชิรัชยา ค่ะ
Yes, that was me. As I was listening to what you were saying about the whole value chain in terms of fermentation and cultured meat, I was thinking that in terms of through the customer's perspective is one of the most important part as well, because I guess through my experience, there's been a stigma around the idea of quote unquote lab grown meat. And not everyone can yet accept that idea of cultivated meat or things like that. And I'm not sure the opinions of like the Thai people in the Asia Pacific region, how people are accepting those ideas. So I just wanted to point out that in my opinion, that's one of the important part that we have to adjust and adapt people to the idea of consuming cultivated meat. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Raising the awareness of the alternative protein itself is very important. I do agree with you. And then I heard one person say that we shouldn't call them like a lab grown meat because it sounds pretty scary to me too. So maybe we have to I don't know, as us together have a little bit of power. Maybe the way to use the name can have some impact on the customer themselves too. So I think that's pretty much important. Like for example, if you know about the black soldier flies, they are pretty important in our ecosystem now. They eating a lot of waste, so they help with the BCG problem, like food loss, food waste, and they have a lot of proteins. But then when you use those names in Thai, it's flies, mealing one. So people tend to stop thinking or using them because it sounds scary. It's flies. So the name that we call the product has to I think has to change a little bit, so it's more like customer friendly, so they can actually open their mind in order to taste or experience those food. And also definitely for the R&D, we have to develop those protein to taste and to have same textures to taste better actually. So yeah, so thank you. Anybody else would like to share?
As the previous guest mentioned, I think the acceptance is really important for, market acceptance. So we need to do the market research and the market education. And I think NASDAQ can play a big role for this one. And I think the plant-based protein and the mushroom-based protein will be easy for people to get used to it. But the recombinant protein or fermentation base, maybe we need to give them the thing. Thailand is a kitchen of the world. we told to everyone that we are the kitchen of the world. So maybe Thai people are not lack of food before other country people, right? So maybe we not urgent. Many people still thinking about the chicken or normal meat than this kind of alternative protein. But I think we may need to think about the function for give them the good advantage of this kind of thing, that for the good nutrition value and also the safety of the this kind of food compared with another food or something, the normal food. In that case, maybe people will accept more this kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And I'm not sure about the Biosafety Act that might come.
Yeah, อาจารย์หงส์ดา talking about the BSF, right?
Yes.
I have read to it before, and then I think there are some debate about the EU exception for this kind of the BSF based protein. So the food the feed that be used for this kind of insect need to be clean. We cannot use the waste food for this one. But I think Thai FDA will concern about this also. But for the fermentation based thing, we use the clean agricultural product. So in that case, we have no problem. But the BSF, the perfect thing that if we can use the food waste to grow the insect, that would be really nice. That we can have the circular economy. But in that case, maybe very difficult for the acceptance. Yeah.
อาจารย์สนใจทำวิจัยกับหนูป่ะ
น่าสนใจนะทำตลาดนะ market
Sorry.
เดี๋ยวคุยกัน
This
ทีหลั
is
ง
one personal
คุยกัน
thing.
ทีหลัง
No, this is one thing, right? We come together and we try to create ecosystem so we can actually study and do more research.
Yeah,
So,
I think it will help. Interesting.
Yes, I'm very, very interested in using BSF.
Yeah, BSF is very nice. Yeah.
I'm trying to find researcher to do study with me.
ชวนทีมขอนแก่นด้วย
ค่ะ
พวกทีมทางอีสานนะครับ
ใช่ค่ะ
แล้วก็ทางเหนือครับ
Yay
โอเคครับ
See, this is one one opportunity. So maybe you never know anybody else in this room has the same kind of interest. That's why we are in the same room. So you can find the way to improve your product or improve anything, improve market or anything. So please share. So anybody else want to share? Should we did the questions, but we still waiting for more inputs from you guys. Maybe what about the other group? Are they moving to the second questions yet? Not yet. Okay. So anybody else wanna add? How much time do we have? What? We have plenty of times, guys. Before we going back to the main room. So anybody else want to add or just talking about anything? Please help. So one thing that so business, service, research, development, product, in product manufacturing, raw material, distribution channels. So Yeah. Anything else you want to add? Talent and workforce development. More research funding. Anybody?
Hi. Okay, yeah, I think I can add again. For I think what is needed. I mean, I think you already mentioned a lot of them, so maybe it is repeating, but this is what we are noticing is the challenge. Maybe not just Thailand, but I think across the region as well. But I think also applies to Thailand. Um, so a few challenges we think one is infrastructure, right? Like there needs to be more investment by because startups will not be able to build the infrastructure themselves. So needs to either have government provide funding for infrastructure and facilities or big corporations that they say that they'll invest into infrastructure so that Thailand can become even I mean not more of a manufacturing hub for alternative proteins also. Um, so that's one. Then the second, yes, talent gap of how to train all the people either in universities or mid-career professionals have training program that can support them to learn new skills that will be relevant for this industry, right? Because I think that if there's a lack of talent, then it would it would hinder their success because they cannot hire people to help them, right? So that's another challenge. Thirdly, I mean, already mentioned about how to have mass adoption of this kind of alternative protein, um, new sources of protein, how to make people switch, they instead of eating meat, they will switch to plant-based or they'll switch to cultivated protein or fermentation. So consumer education, maybe if the government can, encourage people, national education, that would, I think, be very helpful. This is, I think, a major challenge as well that is being faced. Yeah, I think this is the top three problems. Oh, and also, of course, like investment, right? Like like funding. Can the startups get funding for
Right.
for their to raise Series A, Series B? If there's no money that can pour into the business, then they will also fail. So having more investment, um, maybe it has to start with the government or corporate people or maybe get more investors into the space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So pretty much like more, maybe you have some government, some incentive from the government. So to have talent mobilities moving in Thailand. Okay. All right. Thank you. So anybody else want to share? I think we heard a lot about in Thailand and for Miss Fairy from Singapore. So anybody else from abroad, overseas, would like to share what's going on in your countries? We would love to hear you guys. Dr. Yuki, where? Dr. Yuki, Yuki-san, Yuki-san, can you hear me? No? Okay. Okay. For Miss TT from Vietnam, maybe? Let me see the name, the list. Because as I told you earlier that the outcome of this workshop is not for Thailand only, okay? So it's from Asia Pacific countries. So we would love to hear any other countries. ชื่ออะไรนะคะ Miss Su Teran อยู่ไหม Just anything? So maybe you could share if I say your name right. Su Ted, I. Now I'm starting to pick on people, so. And Mr. maybe or Miss ผู้หญิงป่ะ Mugan Rao. Nobody's here? What? Come on, guys. We need some input. So, Kun Nisha say that we would like to hear you. Oh, คุณนี่นะ Sorry. See, now nobody talking. I'm going crazy now. Okay. ใช่ Oh เอาไงดีคะ Anybody else so we can ไหนไปถาม Hey, please delegate from different countries. Su Yang. I'm gonna go to everybody เลยดีไหมเนี่ย ใช่ไหม ได้ไหม เดี๋ยวคนลิฟต์กูหมดเลยอ่ะ Hi, so Yugi-san. So sorry I got time zone. Oh, it's okay. You can turn on your microphone and talk now. We would love to hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
sound of
very sorry, I
daughter.
got time zone wrong.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, right now I'm actually happening to attend another cell agriculture conference in Japan actually. So I'm basically speaking from the actual venue.
Okay. Please, maybe you can share with us your PowerPoint presentation because we missed your talk earlier. Is that okay?
Yeah, very sorry about that.
Saved my life.
What's happening now? Am I rescheduled later or I just completely missed it?
Well, your talk we already break out into 3 different rooms. Actually you were supposed to talk earlier, but now we are in this
1 hour
session.
earlier.
Okay. So our talk is about the fermentation and culture meat. How can we create our ecosystem together? You know, looking to the whole supply chain, the value chain. So maybe you can give us a little bit of your input or your expertise. What's going on in Japan? Thank you. Oh, anyway,
Yeah, so probably in that case, I just quickly run through what I was to actually speak.
Okay.
So, okay, does the screen share work on this?
Yeah. It's not you. I cannot see your screen right now. So maybe
Yeah, because I don't seem to. Well,
you can go into the bit. You know, there's a share box below.
Yeah.
You can click on that.
Okay. What about it? Yeah, seems like I got it to work.
Okay, no worries. No
so
worries.
I think you can see the screen share.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically,
it's still loading. Hold on.
Still loading.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah, very sorry about that. I got time zone wrong and I was late by 1 hour. So just a quick introduction. The CEO of Agriculture Company, which is also spin-off from like Citizen Science Hobbyist Club that basically grow open source cultured meat at home. So we were seeing some high school students growing meat at home. So making DIY cultured meat at home as a hobby. And background, probably we can skip these things. So there in this cultured meat as a potential solution, but it's very expensive as well as there's a mounting social acceptance issue around cell cultured meat as well. So So the reason why cell culture meat is so expensive, the growth factor and the facility, and that's actually also where the potential collaboration could happen, industrial collaboration could happen to basically solve these technical issues. The collaboration we are building in Japan is around us is based on our technologies called the Calnet system, which basically solves the technical problem of growth factors in the bioreactors by methodology called co-culture. So rather than getting very expensive growth factors from outside, we basically produce it within the system using co-cultured cells. So effectively solving this growth factor problem. So this growth factors is normally costs like $80 million per gram, FGF2 $2 million per gram. So it's very, very expensive stuff. And we can make this within the system inexpensively. So that's the competitive edge of this of the Calnet system. So what it's making here is it's making growth factors, but we can also call this as a cell culture serum that we are making using this technology. And the cell culture serum appears to be more effective than conventional serum. And by changing the feeder cells, we can actually fit this for any species and any cell types. So it's not just cell cultured meat that we're making, but it can be used for making cosmetics, biopharma, or even cell cultured fur or stuff like that. So it's a cell type and species agnostic technology. That also, this unique feature of the technology is also enabling us to do a broad spectrum of collaborations with other sectors beyond just food. And on the supply side, we are working together with companies like building companies, air conditioning companies for clean air, clean room, as well as food companies and heavy engineering companies to basically scale up our system from laboratory to industrial scale, like this 100-liter Calnet system. We have also then demonstrate the scaling of the system, because what works at the laboratory scale does not always mean work at industrial scale. And it's one of the difficulties that many companies face, and that can be solved by collaboration with heavy engineering companies. So as a demonstration, we already have cell culture foie gras and cosmetics coming, or the cosmetics are already up on the market. So that's where our technology is. That with this technology, what we could do is to become a meat brand. But that's not the path we are taking. Instead, we are basically letting this versatile technologies to a whole range of players, not limited to just food. So at the end, we have our cell culture system placed at the client site. So, and the client take an initiative on what to make. And we have like the joint R&D program, packaged joint R&D program to support the client that uses our technology to make cell cultured meat or fur or whatever. Our technology and this service package has been received quite well, both from the traditional food and cell agriculture startups. And beyond these kind of collaborations with traditional food, cell agriculture startups, and not just food, but beyond, what we are building is basically a cellular agriculture infrastructure that anyone can just hop on. So building an infrastructure is actually an ultimate form of collaboration, because anyone will be using. So if you think about electricity, you are in collaboration with like so many different players over over the whole infrastructure of electricity. Like there's people making motors, people making light bulbs and such. So we're doing similar thing with cell agriculture. That basically comes back to to where our origin is. Anyone can access this technology to make whatever they want. So ultimately, what it becomes quite important from IP point of view and transparency point of view, because with the infrastructure, what could happen is that citizens make things in an open manner. So IP is open, how to make is open, so it's very transparent. It's quite crucial in winning the trust of people. Then when it comes to industrial scaling, then that's where businesses come in. And that way, the technology can be can become a social infrastructure with citizens' initiative in between. So not just corporate monopoly like Monsanto has done with the GM's stuff. So that basically, this is basically how what was initially visioneered at the Shojin Meat project with the citizen science community of like DIY meat enthusiasts, evolving into agriculture company building the infrastructure, and as well as the another spin-off non-profit organization doing all the policy side. So and now that this is basically what we have in Japan for the moment, some cellular agriculture ecosystem of different players taking different roles in establishing cellular agriculture as a social infrastructure. Yeah, that's quick takeaway. I'm not gonna read it out, but yeah, that's basically the summary.
Oh, thank you. So the ecosystem that you built is all about all the private company together, yeah?
It's not all private companies, such as like this top
that's
left
not
top left. It's a non-profit organization acting as acting with Japan Association for Cellular Agriculture, which is kind of like an industry trade organization. It's still under formation and not completely fixed yet, but it's becoming it's turning into a trade organization. And at the same time, on the bottom right, we have Shojin Meat Project Citizen Science Community supporting these organizations with legal entities from what is it, staffing or human resources or the general knowledge perspective.
What about the government side? Like, what you guys like working closely with the government to get support on funding or anything?
Yeah. So this Japan Association for Cellular Agriculture is actually also has got lots of relations with policymakers, like parliament, the members of parliament. And recently, some members of the parliament in Japan formed a League of Parliamentarians that is mandated to advance cellular agriculture. And this League of Parliamentarians is basically pressuring different regulatory bodies in Japan and other trade organizations to push forward cellular agriculture research and development.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Cool. Anybody else have questions for Mr. Yu? Okay, ค่ะอาจารย์สมชายค่ะ
Thank you, Mr. Yuki Hanyu, for your interesting talk. I just wonder that what the situation of the regulation or guideline of the culture meat in Japan now? Do you have any discussion with the PDMA, the Japanese FDA, so far? And are there any obstacle? Are there any difficulty? I think Japanese FDA may be more easy to discuss with you.
Yeah. So the cell cultured meat itself is legal for sales in Japan, as long as it's made within the existing framework, like no genetic modification, no alien substances, or better say, unapproved substances. So it's not counted as novel food. But the problem is, if you want to sell cell culture, there's no rule that basically gives what is it, permission to build a food factory that makes cell culture meat, and for that rulemaking is underway. So what that means is, if there's an existing food factory and we install a cell culture machine inside that factory, then you can legally sell cell culture meat already in Japan. But that would basically take you into a fight with the regulators. So we are not doing that. So we're basically giving all the information to the regulators so that the regulators can come up with the proper rule for cell culture meat. And that process would probably take about a year and a half to 2 years.
So Japanese PDMA, Japanese FDA do not need any further review of the toxicity or something like that?
Sorry, it was kind of noisy around me, so yeah.
So the Japanese FDA do not need any further data revision for the approval if it can be considered as the normal food.
Yeah. So for the for cell cultured food itself, for the moment, we don't need to provide any additional information or but it's legally possible to do possible to launch cell cultured meat without additional information, but it's not a good idea to do that for now.
But I think in Japan you have another mark for the functional food. In case of you want to claim for some function, do you need any further support data like another functional food as well, right? It's normal fall into the category of the functional food. Kinoshokuhin.
Yeah. So if we are to basically claim some consumer health benefits, then it has to go through that existing framework. But we are not claiming that kind of health benefit for our product.
Okay, woo, very interesting. So it's easy, I think, more than or easy or simplify as Singapore, right? At the Singapore FDA, I think it would be quite easy for registration of the product, culture meat product. Another question that maybe I'm interested for the scale. How big of the scale that you can make it for the culture meat?
Yeah. So
for your technology.
Yeah, so we have capability. We have enough production capability of cell culture serum for about 300 kilogram of meat per month per machine we have. Although we have to work on this target cell bioreactor side because the current capacity we have is only 8 kilograms per month. So that means we need to build a 300 kilogram per month target cell bioreactor to match with the feeder bioreactors capacity we have at the moment.
Do you have any problem with the mixing problem or oxygen transfer problem for the cell culture?
Pardon?
Do you have any problem for the scaling up? I mean, make it like a several thousand or 10,000 or something like that? Or you need to scale out or make it a small scale with a lot of tank or something like that?
Yes, there will be. And I think and that issue is not just us, but all other companies, including Eat Just and Upside Foods. So any bioreactors bigger than about 10,000 liters bump into a problem of diffusion rate for oxygen and CO2 and ammonia and other things.
Okay.
So there's an intrinsic limit to the scale of a bioreactor. So what we need is a cellular agriculture bioreactor under novel design, quite different from existing biopharma bioreactors.
So for your company, I think you forming the network, right? CowNet, what you call the Shojin project or something like that. In that case, do you have the network of some company that doing a tolling out of the bioreactor for any company overseas, like in Thailand, who may be interested to do the cell cultivation using your cell cultivation facility in Japan to make a product or something like that? It possible?
Yeah, it is a possibility. So the CowNet Consortium is a group of companies jointly developing cell culture system. And obviously, bioreactor is one of the central part of that. And this kind of consortium is open to international entities.
Wow.
It's just an issue of like completely administrative issues of and like translation between Japanese and English and all those this stuff. And that's one side of the collaboration. And the other side of the collaboration is actually that using the Calnet system to make meat. For this, we are open to basically shipping our cell cultured foie gras production system to, say, Thailand and install it there and work together with us to basically start production of cell cultured foie gras in Thailand. And why foie gras? It's because we happen to already have the system for that. So in the future, as we develop further products, then we can expand our operation to other products as well.
Did you already have the partner in Thailand?
For now, no. Although we have some conversation, but we only started offering this cell-cultured foie gras production system recently, like a month ago. So,
Okay.
completely open for conversations like that.
Okay. So I think it's very interesting system and network that you can use. So your company provide the technology and your partner in the network can share the facility or something like that, right? For the cultivation or something like so.
Yeah.
I think the Japanese food company have similar facility and they can invest a lot of infrastructure for that one easily, and they have the background and the knowledge, experience with the food production, with the hygiene, with good hygiene. So I think it's really good for start up this kind of thing.
And this is also work positively for existing meat brands because, at least in case of Japan, there's a big Wagyu brands. What they could do is basically use our system to produce branded cell-cultured meat. So if I translate this to Thailand, then local Thai farmer could basically build a new cell-cultured meat brand based on the animal they already have.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. Thank you very much. I think I asked too much. Other people may want to ask also. Thank you very much, and maybe I will try to contact you later on, right? Could you leave any contact address in your slide also?
Yeah, so to the organizer, you can share this
Yeah,
slide with the
we will.
participants, and we're
Okay.
open for contacts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That we're very interesting. That that's one of the example that actually Thailand or any other countries can learn from Japan and from Singapore also, definitely. So thank you so much. So one thing though, from building the ecosystem inside Japan itself. So is there any other way that maybe Japan can contribute to building strong research community together with other countries besides doing research?
Yeah.
Is
So
there any other ways maybe?
so
Do you
the
have
this slide, which one was it? Yeah, would be end. And this Japan Association for Cell Agriculture has got overseas members as well. So they are basically we are quite active in harmonizing the regulations with Japan, Singapore, and possibly the US, and quite possibly with other countries as well. So we have the harmonization effort ongoing like internationally.
Okay, cool. All right, okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Yuki-san? Or anybody else from different countries would like to share what's going on in their countries and how can we work together? Nope. Okay. So thank you again. So maybe because Dr. Yuki is here, so because we have been discussing about the three kinds of questions, like what we might do to create a strong ecosystem and what the challenges or the opportunity we could work together, and also what is the most important, what should we prioritize, what should we do first right now, and then all the steps. So maybe if you have any thoughts on that. So let me I can go to what we already discussed earlier. So Mr. Yuki can actually catch up. Can I go to the question number 1? Really small, I can't see that เดี๋ยวนะ นี่ไง I sorry. Sorry. So for the fermentation, the first question that we discussed is first topic is about R&D. We should take advantage of our biodiversity and integrate them with the R&D. The second one is to develop the protein with tastier, with better nutrition profiles, and that's for the consumer acceptance. Okay. And then the second one is the facilities and infrastructure. So we should build up facilities and infrastructure to support SME and startups and the research itself, and building ecosystem for startup, develop protein with tastier and more investment and funding maybe อะไรสุดท้ายคือinfrastructure and como คืออะไรอ่ะอ๋อ CDMO แปลว่าอะไร อ๋อเขาเรียกว่าอะไร providing service อ๋อ contract service ค่ะ sorry. Okay, for the regulation and business and market part, so we may be talking to the FDA, adopting new regulations for maybe novel food, and adjust and develop, no, don't go. Dr. Yuki. Okay, Dr. Yuki, thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate your presentation. They're very, very helpful, and maybe we can work together in the future. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, and
Thank
very sorry
you.
about getting the time wrong.
No worries. It's okay. Okay. So you have a good day.
Yeah,
Alright,
goodbye
bye-bye.
the conference on my side.
Okay, bye-bye. And I can share the contact information
Yeah.
with the
Yeah,
other participants.
Slides
Okay.
are also good to share.
Yes. Bye-bye. And then maybe we go to question 2. Question 2 is what works and what not work. Okay. And what we got is more research funding, food industry supports for lower price and with more variety, and what not คืออะไรอะอะไรที่ไม่ work อะไรที่ไม่ work. Okay, well, we don't have anything else in that. So we can go to question 3 is what suggestion do you have for growing sustainable alternative protein ecosystem, and what works and what was most important? So we just have to prioritize what to do. So the first one may be the talent and workforce. Well, we should prioritize it first though. This is just the idea, yeah? So just the talent and workforce development, maybe scientific advancement and innovation, shared and open access to knowledge, and maybe incentive. That's my opinion. Anyway, so anybody else want to add? Otherwise, I'm just going to leave it like that. Because that's all we can have, right? Anybody else? We still have 40 minutes left. I will try to pick your brain out. Should I call? No? ไปไหนแล้วอ่ะ No, anybody? You don't want to miss this. Okay. Andไม่มีนี่ number 2 guys, we need your help. So we need your help. Regulatory funding, market. We already talked about that. I think, right? We pretty much discussed all the points, I think. So what should we do? เอาไงดีคะ ใช่ anybody? Okay, I'm gonna call. Yeah, BBGI ทำ synthetic ใช่ไหมคะ I want to hear opinion from Mr. Danai BBGI because I know that you have เดี๋ยวI know อาจารย์สมชายก่อนเดี๋ยว hold on นะคะอาจารย์แป๊บนึงหนูขอถาม Mr. Danai ก่อนได้ไหมคะ
เชิญเลยครับ
เผื่อว่าจะ Mr. Danai, you still there or not? Because I want to hear your opinion on the synthetic technology that you might use or share any experience or challenges or opportunities. Please. Because I know that you guys have building a consortium with many companies and including NASDAQ. So maybe I want to see your visual in terms of synthetic biology and in food industries, if you care to share. No? 1, 2, 3 Okay ค่ะ go back to อาจารย์สมชายค่ะ
maybe the microphone is malfunction
จริงอ๋อใช่ไหม ได้ค่ะไม่เป็นไรถ้าไม่เป็นไรค่ะไม่ใช่ก็
I
ไม่
think
เป็นไร
what I have talked with many company people they concern a lot for the regulatory guideline and I think the governmental authority who have the knowledge like this one maybe need to push need to collaborate with a lot with the Thai FDA to help them to set up the regulation or something like that one. Actually, Thai FDA is open now today, more open for the any technical or something like that. So I think the way that I think Ministry of OWN need to help is to find the dialogue with them and to provide them the safety issue or something like that they need or something like that. I think that will help a lot to the industrial people because the way that they want to invest the money, they need to make to have the convincing from the regulatory body. Without this one, they cannot judge what to do next or something like that.
I totally agree ค่ะอาจารย์ because I think that like as a government institute itself we should talk to get taught a lot more, talk a lot among ourselves before talking to private company too, because
Yeah, private company cannot talk because it's a kind of the conflict of interest, COI.
ใช่ค่ะ
So we need to help them, but
อืม
to be fair to the Thai FDA also, they also concerned about the regulation. So I think we can learn the thing from Singapore or Japanese FDA, and maybe it's very good that GFI maybe can share the information with us or something like that, or the partner from Japan can share the information on this one. PDMA and I mean Japanese FDA are very close to Thai FDA as well, so I think we can manage that one as well. The talk.
ได้ค่ะ yes thank you I totally agree ค่ะ
ครับผม
ค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ thank you any other points otherwise we can take a break now and because we still have 30 minutes I'm trying to get everyone to talk but it's okay yay I see a hand yay please คุณ
Yeah, can I talk? My name is Mukund Rao. I'm Mr. Danai's colleague in BBGI.
Thank you.
And we've been working in this field for quite some time now. We've made some agreements. Just wanted to put in a line. I really appreciate all the good points that are being raised here. I really like everybody saying what they have to say, which is very useful for both NSTDA and to the private sector. But I'm the private sector, as Mr. Sumchai just mentioned, that yes, we have our own restrictions in place in terms of confidentiality agreements, and we've got our discussions going on. But we must appreciate that the whole community together has a common objective to make this a grand success, and we want to play our role. And there is no way that we just cannot be alone. We will have to work together. We will need each other. We need each other's cooperation and understanding. There's one point I wanted to mention, which is specific not just to Thailand, but globally, is the shortage of resources, human resources. I'm not talking about raw materials. I'm not talking about technology. There are enough people working on brilliant ideas. Some have got funding, some don't have funding, all with the common idea towards this food industry. But it's important for universities and institutions in all these countries to scale up the production of human resources which are required in this field. There's a shortage even in the US, so it's not just that we are struggling with a shortage even in the US and maybe even in Japan, we don't know. But yes, regulatory and GMO and all those kind of issues are definitely issues, and we understand the authorities have their points to consider. But resources is something that a lot of access needs to be put in, because getting people to do fermentation in the commercial sense than just the R&D sense needs people of the right skill sets with the right training and the right experience. So it's important that we, from our side, also concentrate and push the authorities to maybe adjust the curriculum, adjust the degrees, and have people come out who will strengthen our resources to achieve our objectives in the field of proteins. Yeah, I just thought I'll make a comment on behalf of Mr. Danai, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I totally agree with you. At the end, human resource is very important. So I appreciate your input. Thank you so much. Anybody else want to add? So if not, we can take about 30 minutes break, and then we can go back to the main room. So you guys can actually click on the red button on your bottom right. So we will finish this session. Thank you so much again. โอ้ยอ๋อแฮนยังอยู่ปะไม่ใช่นะอันเก่าเนาะ Oh, okay. Thank you so much for your input and your participation. Yes, and hopefully we can put this all together and have some impact on our Asian Pacific countries together in order to building our sustainable and success ecosystem, not only for alternative protein, actually I thought, but maybe in all the food industries together. So thank you again so much, and we will see you back at 4 o'clock in the big room. So just leave the room. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys later at 4 o'clock. Don't forget to come back though. Okay?
Okay. Thank you ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you ค่ะ ขอบคุณนะคะ Leave session ใช่ ไม่ใช่ leave webinar นะ